Good evening and welcome to Real Talk, where every Sunday night we offer insight and education as well as resources to in-home caregivers and those affected in their world. Whether it's the children, the parents, the extended family, whether you're a nanny, an NCS, a postpartum doula, or a parent, we're here to offer you some real solutions. Our goal is to offer real life topics and learning through discussion and looking at those things, those topics, those real issues, and offering real solutions. And tonight, I am really excited to talk with our guest, somebody who I've only known for a couple of years in person, but who I now consider a good friend, Heidi Joline. And she is the 2000 INA Nanny of the Year. We're only going to talk a little bit about the Nanny of the Year aspect of things. We're going to talk about some of the things that Heidi is involved in and doing right now that may maybe give you a little bit of insight into why she was one of the people that has been chosen and honored with the INA Nanny of the Year. But first, let me say welcome, Heidi. We're glad to have you tonight.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I know that this is something that helps, like you said, not only the nannies and the NCSs, but it helps everyone in the childcare world. Whether it's a parent, a grandparent, or, the doulas, the nannies, the mannies, the aunties, everyone involved that works with children. So I'm excited to be here tonight.
Right. I am excited to have you. For those who don't know you, because we have a lot of people in our audience who may not be familiar with you at all. So let's start with, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll talk about Nanny of the Year for just a second.
Okay. I'll make it short and sweet. So I have actually worked in the childcare field for a little over, I'll just round it 20 years or so. And I started with the preschool setting, which actually helps me with what I'm doing now. And then I transferred, like a lot of people, into the nanny world, and I fell in love with it. I love working with different parents and growing with them. And I always say that I'm not just raising the child, I'm also helping raise confident parents, because that's important. If you're doing your job, if you have a confident parent that can do everything with their child. I have grown up on the East Coast, moved to the West Coast. I love to travel. So working as a nanny, I actually get to do that quite a bit. I love seeing the children grow, and that's why I do it. And just the awe of their life. And so, and like you said, I was the 2019 INA Nanny of the Year, which I loved, and it was amazing. And I can't wait to actually have an in-person conference again and get to have that energy and that vibe of the INA conferences.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Absolutely. So for those of you who know anything about me, you already can recognize that Heidi and I share a lot of very common passions, including really supporting and leaving confident, empowered parents. The other thing she didn't mention is part of the reason we actually connected to begin with is because we're both a couple of those folks who like to spend our off time about 100 feet underwater. So,
oh, yes. I kept it on the nanny world. Yes. Yes.
It helps people get to know a little bit about you on the side too. And yes. I talk about it all the time. So, Anyway, so tell us a little bit, for those people who might not be familiar, tell us just a little bit about your year as the INA Nanny of the Year, kind of what it was like, how it maybe affected your career, anything you want to share.
You know what? It was scary, and it was exciting, and it was everything, because there are so many great past INA Nanny of the Year winners, and you really want to make them proud. You not only want to make the other nannies proud, but you want to make the INA proud, and you want to make the other Nanny of the Year winners proud of who you are and why you're part of that unique group of, right now it's just ladies, but ladies. And so it was really exciting because I got to meet so many people. I went to a lot of conferences, including over in England. I went to the Great British conference over there. I did, the Nanny Palooza and other classes, and just speaking to other nannies and trying to explain to them how it is a profession and how you take it seriously, but then not only the nannies, but parents. Because I actually, during the ending of my year as Nanny of the Year, I actually did change positions. And it was quite interesting because the agencies would say, well, I have a nanny of the year for you. And they did not know what that was. They thought it was just like, hey, I'm boosting up this nanny. It's a real thing. So I would come into the interview and try and explain what it was. And, the parents really appreciated that. But I found a great family, and I've been with them since the end of February now. And, COVID made it a little bit different because, of course, everyone's home. But, you do what you got to do. And we've had a great time, and really excited because I got to help the parents who are first-time parents. And that's what I love. And now we're all home together.
Yeah, first-time parents are one of my favorites as well. And of course, when I'm working with clients, generally I've got them home anyway.
Yes.
But nevertheless, it's a lot of fun. I love working with first-time parents. If just very quickly before we move into our main topic, if somebody out there was interested in, wow, what is this INA thing? Or, Nanny of the Year, hey, that could be me.
Yep.
What would you tell them?
I would tell them to first research the INA. Go to the website, nanny.org, look into it, but also ask in the groups. I do see a lot of times in the nanny groups, especially the domestic or international, or sometimes the local groups, hey, who's a part of the INA? I would ask people for their advice. They also offer the mentor program, so that way, I won't say older nannies, but more experienced nannies, let's put it that way, can help maybe other people who are joining or newer to nannying. Just research it and then join. And then if you want to become Nanny of the Year, just let it come from your soul and let it come from your heart, because that's what's going to make it. And it has to come from within, and it has to shine through, because that's what's going to get seen by the people that are choosing the winner of the INA or Nanny of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. And having known several of the past winners and been friends with some of them for, 20 plus years, I would say that every one of them shares that heart and that passion for working with children, and sharing that really is what impacts you for sure. So let's get on to what we're here to talk about tonight. I wanted to talk to you about this because when you first shared with me what you were doing, and I heard about it, I thought, what a fantastic idea. And I know that years and years ago, when I was working as a regular nanny, a lot of times I struggled in the summertime in particular. So what I would like you to do is first kind of introduce sort of, the general overview of what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about some of kind of the questions we have around that.
Okay. So what we're doing this year, it actually was brought to my attention and another nanny, Sarah, who lives in New York, and by Laura Brawley, who is well known in our nanny field. She asked to Zoom with us one day. And now I'm on the West Coast and Sarah's on the East Coast, and we've actually never met each other, I don't believe, but we've talked to each other in groups, obviously. But because she has a passion for the lesson plans and I have a passion for the lesson plans and the activities, knowing that there would be very limited or no summer camps for this year due to the virus, that there would be a lot of children, whether they're at home with nannies or parents or aunts or uncles or neighbor, whoever, there's a need for getting the activities into one area, because they're out there. All the activity, you can put activities into a Google search, but there's so many, sometimes it becomes a little bit overwhelming for people. So what we did is we created the DIY Nanny Adventure Camp, which is a weekly newsletter that comes out to people who subscribe for 3 months or month to month. We do have 2 separate options. And the weekly newsletter comes normally a few days before the week that it starts, so you can get the supplies. And we call it a newsletter. We were thinking it was going to be a newsletter, but really it's more like an ebook. It's usually about 30 pages. It consists of about 15 to 20 activities that are related to the theme of the week. Then there's some cooking activities, there's yoga, there's books. And when we say books, we don't want people to go out and buy books, because that's the thing. We don't want people to spend the money, especially if they're not working, if parents have been furloughed or whatever it is. So we have links to the books on YouTube, which if you don't do screen time, you can listen to them. If you do screen time, great. There's some books that relate to the theme. There's also podcasts. There's vocabulary terms. There's a little bit of a baby section. It's a little hard sometimes to do a lot of the activities with babies, but for people with multiple children, they just kind of go along. And then there's always a supply list at the end, just so they can have it. We try and do some links, some weird supplies that, like this week was glow in the dark stuff. So if there was anything glow in the dark, but we do an overall theme for each month, and then the weekly themes match. So this July is actually summer science. And so each week has something to do with science. And we're about to go into week 4. So it's going to be fun. And then we have August, and then that's our summer. The good thing about this is that no matter when you sign up, if you do the whole summer, you get the back issues. So if you sign up right now, you're going to get all of July that you missed, and then all of June. If you sign up for just July and August, you're going to get all of July, and then you'll get August. So we do backdate it. It can be printed out. It comes in a PDF. For nannies, you can use this at any time. It doesn't have to be in the summer. Just because we're saying it's a summer camp or that it's summer science, you can do these at any time. It's something great to add to your nanny book, let's say. So.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I knew you guys were doing, I knew it was about activities and stuff, but that's way more than I anticipated it would be. So that's awesome. So talk to me about these activities, summer activities. Why are these things important? What function do they play?
You know what? It's very important. I know that summer is definitely a time for play. The school year was a little bit off this year because a lot of, the schools closed, the kids went home. Keeping a schedule for children is really important, whether they can tell time or not. Yes, summer should be a little bit more freedom, a little bit more if you want to stay up a little bit later or whatever, but having a little bit of those activities, whether they're child-led or a little bit adult-led, helps them understand and not just, I don't want to say the word bored, but it is boredom. You want them to have a little bit of those experiences, and then they can grow on it. We don't want someone to be doing something with them 24/7, especially if you're a nanny, because you're going to get burnt out. But our activities, you can do them and then build on that. So if it's a science activity, they can go out and take their telescopes they made and play in the yard for 30 minutes looking at stuff with their telescope. It's something to build on, and to keep a little bit of a schedule and a little bit of learning, which is why we also have the vocabulary words and the books, but then just a little bit more easier for summer.
Mm-hmm. And is there ever a time in looking at all this stuff and activities and keeping them busy, is there ever a time when it's important to kind of not have a bunch of activities?
Yes. Yes. Because like I said, you don't want to overburden your child. And I think that sometimes, especially parents and nannies and things like that, they look online and they'll grab like a handful of activities, try to do them in one day, and then you have 5 more days. And what are you going to do? And you've literally not only burnt out yourself, you've burnt out the child by doing activity upon activity upon activity. And then Tuesday comes around and you're like, I'm done. I don't want to cut anymore. I don't want to paste anymore. I don't want to paint anymore. Go run in the yard, which is great sometimes. Go run in the yard, explore the yard. it's wonderful to do that. Some people may not have yards, and so we do that in our lesson plans as well as, or I'm sorry, in our nanny newsletter, is that we try to, if you don't have an outdoor space, do you have an indoor space? You can do this indoor as well. So we try and modify that as well. But it's a balancing act. It's important, but it's not important. You have to balance it. And that's why with the activities that we provide, we don't label them per day. We don't say this activity is for Monday and this activity is for Tuesday. We label them as activity, whatever it's called. So if it's like our coming up is the human body activity 1, and it'll be fine motor, art, and colors. And so you can look and pick what you want to do. You don't have to do it on a certain day. Because we don't want people to think that they have to do just this on Monday. And what if they miss Monday? What if the kid's sick? Or what if, we want it to be a little bit more flexible.
Right. And you mentioned something that I think is something we see a lot in our industry. You mentioned, you don't want to do too much and get burnt out, you or
Yes.
the kids. That's something I'm hearing from a lot of nannies right now, because they're home. And they're home with these kids all day, every day, in a different way than they have been before. Obviously, a nanny works in the home. That's part of how it works. But most of the time, nannies have a lot more freedom to go to the zoo or to go to the children's museum and do crafts there. And instead, everybody's at home. Everybody's being careful. They can't do play dates. They can't do a lot of the things that they did before. They don't have, as you said, summer camp and things like that. So what are some of your tips for nannies out there to make sure that they're being careful not to get burnt out for both them and for the kids that they're working with?
You know what?
I think it's parents too.
and it's the parents. I mean, I think it's definitely, it's something that I do is like, and I started really young, and I feel like, other nannies who do this as well you have to teach from a very early age the independence, for no matter what you do, there has to be that independent time. And this is where I set up centers for younger children in the playroom. Okay, these are going to be the things we're going to play with right now. Have at it. It's not a free for all. You're not going to dump every single block out. We're going to do puzzles in this corner, and we're going to do, I call it a sensory pool. It's basically a pool with noodles and stuff in it, beans, and then maybe an art skill that they can do on their own, and it's just allowing them, they can have free reign of the room, and I step back, because if you're doing something 24/7 with them, you're going to get burned out. It's also researching everything every day. You're going to get burned out. You kind of have to just take a few steps back every so often and let the kids go on their own. But you also can't show up Monday morning and expect everything to be there served on a platter. You have to put a little bit of time and effort in. That's why we're hoping with this newsletter that we have the activities. Yes, you may have to cut things during nap time, or you may have to cut things at home at night, but it's not that much. And then when you come in, it's not overwhelming. I think that a lot of times people come into work on whether it's Monday morning or Tuesday morning, and they're like, okay, we have to do something today. What are we going to do? And they're quickly cutting and pasting or looking up an activity, and that burns you out even faster. Just having a little bit more preparation, but then also not filling every hour of the day with an activity. That's why we do some of the yoga as well, is take that time. Take the time to do the yoga with the kids, even the babies, and breathe. Sit down and relax and take a breath, because it's important for not only you, but for the children as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I find sometimes when I talk to nannies, they feel guilty, particularly with parents at home, like they should be up and doing something all the time. And frankly, sometimes there are parents who have that expectation. It's not healthy. And occasionally that might mean the nanny has to sit down and have a conversation with the parents and discuss it. because they might think that the parent has that expectation of them and the parent actually doesn't. Mm-hmm. Or if they do, they might need to sit down and have a reality check conversation with them also.
It's true. And especially now with a lot of times, and I've seen this in the board, and I'm sure you have in some of the boards, is there are parents home. It is what it is. The parents are working from home, whether they're working in another room, downstairs, upstairs. Maybe they're only working at the dining room table. It's something we're going to have to get used to. I've been lucky that most of my nanny career, I want to say all of my nanny career, I have had a stay-at-home parent in some capacity or form, whether they work from home or they were just stay-at-home parents or, LA, Hollywood schedules and things like that. It doesn't affect me as much as other people who were used to parents being out of the house. And now is the time to have that conversation with the parents of what they expect and what you expect. Communication is key. Open communication is key in all relationships. And especially important in a nanny relationship with the parent. But also involve the parents. If the parents have a break, involve them. We're also hoping with our newsletter. Great. You know what? We're going to do a cooking activity. What is your favorite, whatever we can throw in this? If we're making soup, what's your favorite vegetable we can throw in the soup? Let's do it together. And then we can have that for lunch. If we're doing some type of activity that involves yoga or painting or whatever it is, and the parents have a break, come join us. Let's do it together because we're supposed to be a team. And that not only helps you, it helps the parent, but then it helps the child because it sees you all working together as a cohesive unit and not like, oh my gosh, your parents are right there. What am I supposed to do? You're going to cry. You're going to do this. No, bring them in. Let's join. Let's do it together. It helps everyone, especially now we don't know how long parents are going to work from home. So, involve everyone.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it also helps the child in terms of seeing you, as you said, as a cohesive unit, which means there's potential that there's going to be a little less conflict in terms of behavior, et cetera, if they're seeing the parent involved and doing things with you and treating you like an equal. Mm-hmm. And there can be a lot of things. So you've answered kind of my next question about how to involve parents. But talk to me for a minute about this summer schedule. Mm-hmm. And how this could move beyond summer. If somebody's actually utilizing this for the summer, how do they take this concept beyond summer?
I think because if you're setting up the expectation that we're going to do this activity, we're going to do this, like I said, it's a little more free-flowing in the summer because you can say, let's read through the list of these 20 activities. Let's pick 5 or let's pick 10. During the school year, and I don't really do older school kids. I'm not a homeschool teacher. So when I do my lesson plans and when I talk in my lesson plan classes and things like that, I'm not a school teacher. So I don't do but I do the little ones. So it's gearing it into setting up I do monthly themes. That's easy for me. So I can do a monthly theme coming in the fall, and it's easier for the kids to transition. Now we're going to do these activities again, but it's a little bit more on the learning side. It's a little bit more, we need to do a little more writing skills. We need to do a little more reading skills if they're pre-reading. If they need to work on their motor development on things, if you have a little bit of someone who's trying to learn how to walk or something or whatever, climb, whatever it is, trying to add that into, I don't want to say rigid. I'm trying to stay away from the word rigid. A little bit more of a scheduled day, following more of a school type schedule, instead of that free for all for the summer. So I think if you have a child who has basically had no structure during the summer, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we're bringing it back in. It's a 180. Now we're going to do this. There's going to be some conflict. So just slowly bringing it back in for the school year, you can help those children get ready for whoever may be going back to school, whether it's next month 6 months or a year, because you don't know when schools or preschools are going to open back up.
Mhm. Yeah. I even do that with my kids who I have a junior high and a high schooler at home. And I still do that sort of concept of, hey, you know what? School starts, this is assuming a normal school year, school
Mhm.
starts in 3 weeks. So starting on Monday, we're going to start going to bed
Mhm.
20 minutes earlier, and you're going to start getting up 20 minutes earlier. And 3 days later, I move it a little bit more, and 3 days later, it's kind of like working with a baby.
It basically is. I mean, they really still are. And you know what, kids flow on that structure, and not the rigid structure, the fluid structure where they can grow, they can explore, but still know that after my bath, I'm going to get a story. And I don't care if they're 2 or if they're 6, they know they're going to have that time,
Mhm,
whether it's a story they read or a story they make up or a story you read. That's part of their structure and their day. So while
mhm,
summer, yes, is a little bit more, you know what, let's go swimming and then maybe we'll do this. It's a little bit more structured during the school year. And it just makes the day flow so much easier without the tantrums and not that they're not going to be there. They're still going to be there, but it's a little easier because they know what to expect.
mhm.
Um, Knowing that when they wake up, they get that breakfast, they might do an activity with you, then there's some independent play, then there's, some outside play, there's some music play, things like that they can learn. Um, and then it's I just want to say it's just easier. And that's what you want. You want your day to go easier for them.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. There's less conflict that way for sure.
Mhm.
So, question for you. The activities that are in this newsletter, are they things that, with a little tweaking, even if somebody had them for the summer, are they things that they could say apply in January, in the middle of the winter, with just maybe changing up a theme instead of it being about the sunshine, it's about the snow or whatever?
Yes, yes. We do have a bit of, if the activities can be modified, we do say modified for ages. Some
Hmm.
activities obviously cannot. So they can be modified for certain times of the year. That's why like it comes as a PDF. If you want to use it whenever, our lessons like this week that people are doing are glowing space, so outdoor space, things like that, the things that glow in the dark, things that are in outer space. You can do that in the middle of the winter. It's probably best in the middle of the winter because it's going to get darker earlier. So that way, when you're making a homemade glow in the dark ball, which is one of our activities, is to make a bouncy ball that glows in the dark. Great, it's dark out early. Let's throw it around the room now that you made it. A
Hmm.
glow in the dark bowling, those are type of things that you can do in the middle of winter. So you can do these at any time. The overall theme for July is summer science. Take off the word summer, just say science. I
Hmm.
mean, next month is around the world. That can be done at any time.
Yeah.
That's why I like monthly lesson
Except
plans
right
over
now, we
weekly.
can't go anywhere.
Well, yeah, but we can still learn about the world.
Right?
you know.
I know, makes me crazy. But
Oh, don't I know?
so, is there anything else about this or anything else related to summer activities or your project specifically that you want to share with everybody?
Um, I think that I hope that everyone that has our lesson or has our newsletter is enjoying them, and I hope that they're sharing them with other people so that way they can take it, and especially the parents. We want to know the feedback on how parents are enjoying it and how their nannies are enjoying it, because that's Sarah and I, that's what we strive on. And we love to hear the comments, and we've seen a few of them put out there of people, and that's what we want. We want to hear and see pictures of what you're doing. So
Hmm.
if you have the newsletter, post, if you can, photos or, crop the face out or whatever, of what you're doing and what you did and the activities that you've done, whether it's the yoga or the books or something, and just share it, because then other people will find out. whether they want the whole 3-month package or just 1 month. That's fine. It's, I believe, $75 for the 3-month package and $30 for each month. And then there also is a letter that nannies can send to their parents, because I know a lot of times it's a little bit difficult to ask our employers for something that costs, that is a little bit costly, and $75 is a little bit costly to some people. So there is a letter that they can send to their employers. So utilize that as well. And then if they have any questions, Sarah and I are available for answering those type of questions. If it's a technical one, Laura can answer that. So that is not our side, but Sarah and I, we try and answer as best as we can. I know people have asked about age groups. Babies are a little bit hard because obviously you have the first year is such a diverse age. You have a 1-year-old and a 4-month-old, and they're two totally completely different people versus a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. So we do have a section on babies. If you have a mind like mine that literally can change an activity to any age group, it makes it a little easier. Some people do not, but I am more than happy to help people in any way that I can. And then, if you need help with lesson plans, I can try and help as well in my spare time.
Fantastic.
Not that much.
I have loved getting the opportunity to learn a little bit more about this tonight. And I'm really excited to be able to share this with our audience, because I think a lot of nannies out there may not know that this is there. And I know a lot of them are really needing something to do. So I'm hoping they'll take advantage of this. But you know what I got to say? But probably my favorite part of all this is the letter that you're providing for nannies, because so many times nannies are, as you said, they're uncomfortable asking for money for things for the kids, or they're not sure if it's okay, and that gives them something to just can. So I love that you guys did that. That's fantastic. So thank you for joining us tonight. It has really been an honor to have you on and to learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
If any of you who are watching this tonight or watch it in the replay have questions for Heidi, put them in the feed and tag her or tag Newborn Care Solutions, and we'll make sure that she gets those questions. We're also going to include information in the feed where you can find their, would you call it DIY summer camp?
It's DIY Nanny Adventure Camp. Okay,
perfect.
So, and you can get it on Nanny Care Hub as well.
Fantastic. So we'll make sure that all of that is in the feed so that everybody can find that really easily. And thank you for all of you for joining us tonight, for being with us on Real Talk, where every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we offer real topics, real issues, and real solutions. Good night.
Good night.